Call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Let me get to this quick. Next item on the agenda will be the statement from the Board Vice President.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in any other silent activity. Thank you.
Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Cheryl Kelly.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item will be discussion or approval of the November 9th board minutes.
No, the
Formal
adoption.
adoption.
My fault, sorry.
I move the formal adoption of the agenda with the exception of item number 29, which needs to be removed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. All right, next item, number 5, will be the motion to approve or disapprove the November 9th board meeting minutes.
Move approval of the November 9th, 2018 special board meeting minutes.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be to approve the November 12th board meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve November 12th regular board meeting minutes.
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
All
All right. Next item, number 7, will be Mr. Kennellet.
Drum roll.
President Allen, Board, Dr. Dunlop, good evening. Mr. Dunn will certainly be here tonight, but he had a previous engagement with the family, a very important engagement, or else he would have been here, and we'd love to have him. You know, anytime you win a state championship, there's so many things that have to happen. You've got to have a group of young men or women that are totally committed and have bought into what you're selling. You've got to have a culture of winning and being part of a winning program. You've got to have a community that gives and supports that program. You've got to have a school that supports that program. And I could go on and on and on and on the things it takes to be a great program. But to win a state championship in a program that over 100 and some years has not won a state championship, and to win that state championship, I don't know, I can barely put it in words what that means to the school, to the community, to those young men sitting in the back room and their parents. All I can do is introduce the best head coach in state of Oklahoma, head coach for the Broken Arrow Tiger state championship football team, David Alexander.
we don't need to go that far, Mr. Ellett. We've got some football players here. We invited as many of the seniors as we could get. I've got Logan Matthews and Matt Kaiser, Tate Robar. Would you guys stand up real quick?
Mr. Alexander, you
Come
have
on-
them
come on-
stand
come on
here
up
if you
here,
will,
men.
please. All of them.
Okay. All right. Kane Robinson, Thor Wayne, Roland Wilbanks, right? Drake Casey, Kaiser Newell, Colton Collier, Tyler Siebert, Tyler Crawford, Trayvon Client, Andrew Rame, Caleb Scott, Noah Cortez, and Ryan Barwig are here with us. It's a good portion of the senior group, with Andrew sprinkled in there as the lone junior. Mr. Ellett is exactly right about one thing, okay? Winning a state championship is hard, okay? It takes a culture, not a head coach, okay, not one football player. It takes a school system with a culture of winning. It takes their English teacher that makes them turn in their homework, right? It takes principals that care about them and right, shoo them out of hallways when they're running a little bit late. It takes a great coaching staff, and it takes an incredible group of senior football players. I said from my opening press conference, we will win a state championship when we get a group of seniors that won't listen to the noise, okay? Won't listen to their uncles and their dads and their brother's best friend about you can't beat Jinx, you can't beat Union, and 8-2 is good enough. And this group of seniors decided a long time ago that they were going to be state champions and they were going to be different. Okay, it's not something they decided Friday night at 7 o'clock before the football game. This group of seniors, I have never been around a group that was so much fun to go to practice with every day. I didn't have to yell at them. Not that sometimes I didn't yell. Okay. I didn't have to beg them to work hard. Andrew, did I ever beg you to work hard? No? Matt? It was so much fun to go to practice every day because every time I set the bar of what the expectations were going to be, they exceeded that. So these young men right here are the reason that Broken Arrow has its first football state championship. Thank you very much.
Don't leave, guys.
Yeah, hold on before you guys take off. I'm sure the board would like to talk to you as well as Dr. Dunlap. I moved to Broken Arrow in 1974. Went to school here all my life. I played football, I played soccer, I wrestled at Broken Arrow. I had the opportunity to be hired by Mr. Ellett to come back. Well, let me back up. I won a national championship in college, coached 2 national championships in college. Was very lucky that God blessed me and put Ken Ellett in my life and Steve Dunlap that provided me the opportunity to come back and coach wrestling here at Broken Arrow. I was a part of multiple national championship or state championships as a high school coach for Broken Arrow, which I was very proud of. Got the luxury of doing what is hard, like Coach Alexander said, and winning a state title as a head coach. I want to tell you all thank you, because I've never been more proud of anything in my life than that state football title that you guys brought back to Broken Arrow. It's because you guys are going to be, when you're 40-something, 50-something years old, and maybe you'll be on the school board, maybe you'll serve in other areas in your community, and you'll realize what it means and what you guys have done for this town, for me personally. I've never been more proud to be a BA Tiger. I'm very proud of you all. I want to say thank you. We needed this. Our town needed this. Me as a person needed this. As a former coach, former athlete. It got awfully dusty at the stadium after you guys won. I don't know why my eyes were watering so much. But great job. We're very, very proud of each and every one of you. And thank you for not listening to the noise, and thank you for working hard. Coach isn't going to give themselves credit, but I know he has a tremendous staff. Coach Alexander is the right man to be your head coach. And we're proud of every single one of you, and we want to thank you. Thank every one of you and your parents for the support.
Mr. Alexander, I'd like to take a moment, too, to just talk about character You know, you mentioned this, and I certainly appreciate all of those, Dr. Dunlop, and all of the administrative leadership team, because this does take a culture of knowing and believing that you can do something. But that doesn't just happen. It's very purposeful. It's purposeful from not only the community, but those that work in our organization. And I know you mentioned, and Mr. Allen did a great job mentioning some of those people that are very much a strong part of getting these students where they need to be. Certainly our parents. Parents in our community are very committed, and they do a great job. But the character that was displayed on the field, not just by the athletes, but also those that participated in the band, those that participated in the cheerleading, those that participated in going back and forth in the rain between the Jinx students and our students. I thought they were handled themselves very well. It is a testament to our organization, and I want to thank you and thank all of the players, and certainly thank you, because I too came into the district in the 70s, and from that point to this point, there's never been a state title in football. There's been many other significant awards in the organization, certainly leadership awards and various other things, but this has been something that's been very elusive. And so congratulations to you all. You are the first, and you won't be the last. Thank you.
Yeah, and I definitely, kind of like Mr. Allen, having grown up here, graduating from here, 1983, having this legacy that is now here from you guys, and not just the state championship, but going undefeated. I mean, thinking about those old guys that were here not long ago, 1954 players, this is what I hope to see you guys at some point in time. Granted, we'll be gone, but the cool thing is that you guys did such an amazing job, and just with such character, and it's such a proud moment for Broken Arrow and the community that it's you guys that did it. And so, again, I am so proud. It was so exciting to be able to walk in the office. I was gone all last week, so I didn't get to enjoy it. But I came in this week, and it was really cool to be able to go up to some of our Jinx colleagues and just have a great time waving the gold flag. So Thank you guys for a great job. Appreciate it.
My son played in the first one, and we got beat 15 years ago, and it's been 15 years coming. Okay? Thank you for getting that bad taste out of my mouth.
One thing to add, too, is as you leave tonight, and some of the feelings may fade, but you'll always be state champs, and you will always be the first ever state championship team, and no one can ever take that away from you. That's you're going to live that the rest of your life. That's so awesome, so awesome.
So what I want to say to you gentlemen is, any really successful organization or program can point to a single point in time when the whole thing changed, when that trajectory changed, and suddenly you have this legacy of excellence, and you can constantly, for the rest of your lives, go through life knowing that you were the ones that caused that change, and the change in the conversation. Coach Alexander talked just a minute ago about the conversations you would hear from some of the old guys going, well, we've been in this before, and now you've changed the conversation, and for that we are so very, very proud. But what I'm most proud about, I love kids. I was a teacher, and I love to watch the little guys and girls who look up to the older kids, and they want to be like you. And up to this point, they wanted to be like you just because they wanted to be a Broken Arrow high school football player. But now they have a different dream, don't they? Because you have showed them a different way to have that dream, and that dream is the gold ball. So for that, thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you, Coach, and your staff.
Thank you too, Coach. Appreciate it.
Dr. Dunlop, Mr. Allen, the rest of the school board, thank you very much for having us today. We really, really appreciate it. We're proud of it.
Good job, man.
I thought we were going to do a picture.
They need to get a
We
picture
need to get a picture too.
Get a picture of you guys.
Yeah. So once you get the handshaking, don't sit down. Stay up here. You bet.
Brother.
Proud of you.
Oh my God.
Proud of you.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations. So proud of you. Proud of you.
Congratulations.
So proud of you. Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
You look great.
Boomer, man, I went to
All right, I gotta go get a picture with you.
We're gonna get to this.
Great job.
I'm taking it going.
Yeah, we'll probably get the whole board up on this one. Come on. Come on, Sarah, we'll all get up here. Dunlop, get that trophy here in the middle.
I think we can price together.
You're good, you're fine. Great job. Hey, Dr. Dunlop, before they leave, I don't want to cause you any problems or nothing, but I've had a guy, an older gentleman from I think he graduated in the 60s, called me Saturday morning after the state championship game. He harasses me every time I go play golf. It's fire this, get rid, that noise you guys heard, it's always fire, don't play this guy, run that play. So I kind of jab at him and gigged him when I got home late Friday night. So I get a call at 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday, and I said, well, now what? What are you going to gripe about now? He goes, well, you need to tell your superintendent that they need to call a day off of school to celebrate that state championship. So, I'm not putting any pressure on you, but who knows, guys? Who knows? So.
We need these seniors to graduate.
I want a day off.
Way to go. Now they're going to torture you out.
Yeah. I just gave the suggestion, but that was not. Yeah. All right. Back to business. Next item, number 9, public comments.
Number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did. All right, sorry. Number 8, Ms. Dice.
Okay, thank you. That was so exciting. I almost forgot I had to come up here. So that was really awesome. This is actually really good news too as well. Ms. Kaiser is the principal at Creekwood Elementary. She couldn't be here tonight, but they had a community member who just came into the school one day and gave a monetary donation of $1,500 in cash to the school to use as they needed for students. So this is information only. You'll just be seeing that we have accepting that donation of $1,500. And I asked her what they were going to use it for, and she said with the counselor for a student with special needs. So
Cool.
All right. Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 9, comments from the public. We have none. Next item, number 10, Ms. Enoff.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Dunlop. It's my honor tonight to be able to present to the board our 2017-18 annual audit and comprehensive annual financial report. This is our 7th year to do a CAFR, and it's become part of our daily process and our expectations here at Broken Arrow. But one thing that I never want to diminish is the amount of work and the amount of attention to detail that it takes really the entire district to put together a book of this magnitude. Ms. Kathy Mitchum does the lion's share of the work for doing the financials and checking all the figures, and even though it's become so much a part of our daily business processes, I always want to make sure that we recognize that this report takes our financials and what we report to the public a step above and beyond just the required minimum for a financial audit. I'd like to invite Mr. Kemper up to the podium. He's going to give the board some highlights of our financials.
All right. It's a tough act to follow. Congratulations on the state championship. That's awesome. All right. Well, tonight I'd like to just kind of go over a little bit of the highlights of the financials. We'll start on page 42 of the CAFR and just kind of hit the highlights of fund balances and net position. And then we'll just go over the independent auditor's report and single audit report. And then if you all have any questions, you can feel free to ask me. On page 42, this is the statement of net position for the entire district. You'll see governmental activities, which encompasses your general building, all the funds that do mainly instruction and the main functions of the district, and then the business type activities deal with, I believe, child nutrition and the internal service fund. So as you can see at the bottom, the total net position for the governmental activities was 107,926,453 at June 30th of 18, and business type activities was 4,931,362. One thing I kind of like to hit is the budget to actuals a little bit, so you can kind of see a comparison of the budget to the actual, and also there's kind of a you've got the beginning and end of year financials there to compare with. So on page 50, this is the budget to actual for the general fund, and the original budget, of course, is what's set up the very beginning of the year, and then during the year when you have any additional revenue sources, of course, they're added in for the final budget. And you've got your actual expenditures. If you look down toward the bottom, the fund balance at the beginning of the year for the general fund was $12,670,664, and at the end of the year, at June 30th, it was $18,157,399. So, you did have an increase in your ending fund balance for general fund. 51 shows the same schedule for the building fund, and as you can see at the bottom, the fund balance at the beginning of the year was $2,724,918, and at the end, you had a fund balance of $3,422,192. So. Building fund also did have an increase this year. Those are the kind of the main things that I would hit on the financial side. As far as the independent auditors report, that is on page 26 and 27. I believe. Yes. Okay. And this is where we outline our opinion on the financial statements as presented, outlines the auditor's responsibilities in the administration of the audit, and then down at the bottom of page 26 you'll see the opinion. Our opinion on the financials as presented are that that they present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the district as of June 30th, 2018. This opinion is not modified by anything, so it's considered unqualified, a clean opinion on the financials. We didn't have any issues or disagreements with management on any of the financial numbers. Everything kind of went pretty smoothly this year. The other thing I'd like to point out, along with the financial statement side of the audit, we also do a single audit. So if you expend more than $750,000 in federal programs, of course you have to have a single audit as well as a financial audit. That is something that's not included in the CAFR, but you should also have a compliance supplement. It's about 10 pages that's sent to the State Department of Education along with the financials. And in that packet, on page 8, you've got a schedule of findings and question costs, and also the summary of the auditor's results. This page is what it says, summary of the results. So number 1, you've got a restatement of unqualified opinion on the financial statements in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. And then if you look down at 7 and 8, what we do on federal program testing is every federal program over a certain amount has to be risk assessed, and those programs that have a higher level of risk are chosen to be tested so that we have a 20% of the total coverage, and then we'll do compliance and substantive testing on those. The 2 programs that we tested this year was the Title I program and the special ed program that also includes the preschool program. So on those 2 programs, we test expenditures to make sure that they're allowable costs, as well as testing some compliance requirements. Special ed would be dealing with documentation of IEP files and how they're kept. And then as far as Title I goes, most of Title I is salaries and just some purchase orders. So those will be tested to make sure that the internal controls over those items are properly designed. If you look down at the bottom, you'll see as far as findings go, financial statement side of the audit, again, unqualified opinion. We didn't have any issues, major issues, no material items that were required to be reported on the financial statement side. And then as far as the two major federal programs, Title I and Special Ed, there were no material findings for those either. So I think overall the audit went well. Really didn't have any difficulties or anything. So if you all have any questions on anything, I'd be happy to answer. I know I kind of I was a little brief on the financials, but I'd be happy to go over anything more in detail.
Any questions? Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
This is an action item.
I didn't know if any more you want to say.
No. Does the board have any questions that I can answer?
No, move approval.
Second?
A motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Miss Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eno. Next item will be the general consent items number 12 through 57.
Move approval, or not approval, I apologize. Well, yeah, I'm going to move the general consent agenda items 12 through 57.
Excluding 29.
Excluding 29, yes, thank you.
Second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Miss Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, number 58, Ms. Kearns.
Good evening. Number 58, I bring you tonight, I'm asking you to approve our child nutrition procurement plan. We endured a very extensive audit last month, and they asked that child nutrition have their own plan on file. So we have gone through and taken the template that was given to us by the state to retrofit to Broken Arrow, and that will remain on file in the child nutrition office.
Move approval.
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Miss Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Real quick, Ms. Kearns, does that sound that needs to be added to policy, or is it just going to be a procedural type item?
Next
Board policy?
item.
Board policy.
It's going to be a
Okay.
line added to our purchasing
Okay.
policy.
All right.
But that procurement plan is actually a 10-page document.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Next item, number 60, or no, I'm sorry, number 59.
Number 59, two board policy revisions. 6160, we're actually adding the line that child nutrition will follow the procurement plan on file in the child nutrition office. I checked with legal to make sure we didn't have to add that entire 10-page document to policy, and he said no, just add the line that it'll be followed, because some federal guidelines for specifically child nutrition are different than our purchasing in different areas, and we're covered that way. The other board policy that I bring you tonight is actually within the Board of Education, Section 1, that asks the public to, if they want to speak to the public, to let us know at least 5 minutes before the board meeting starts, so that can be handled correctly.
Yes, Ms. Kearns, and certainly Mr. Allen and the board, I really appreciate our opportunity for listening, and I do think that that's going to serve the public very well. Thank you. Move approval.
Second?
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Miss Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, number 60, Mr. Tolomeo.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I'm here to seek your approval to hire Manhattan Construction for the construction manager of Elementary School 16. We're progressing, and we have the site picked, we have the survey ordered, and geotechnical ordered, and it's time to bring on a construction manager at this point.
When do you anticipate the start date of that?
We hope to get it bid out March, April timeframe, take you to the board. It'll be a 14-month duration for construction, and we will open it for the 2021 school year.
Very cool.
Questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Miss Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Tolmeo. Next item, Mr. Stout. Number 61.
Thank you, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and members of the board. Item number 61 is asking for your approval for roughly about 550 new Dell tops or PCs, and then 50 two-in-one tablets to replace old existing equipment across the district. This is an agreement with Dell. It's a state contract that we're utilizing. It's roughly $421,000 and paid for through bond funds. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Miss Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Next item, number 62, Ms. Ena.
Good evening again. The monthly financials through the end of November. I'll tell the board that it's always during this time of year I get a little nervous with our cash flow situation. Things get a little tight in the months of November and December, so I'm constantly going to Ms. Dallahan and saying, are we good on cash? Are we good on cash? And she assures me we are. So the point being that our ad valorem payment will we'll start to get some in December, but obviously our big payment will be collected in January as typical. And in this category of revenue, collection rate of roughly 97%, 98%, so it's obviously very important to the district's overall revenue picture as we start to look towards the end of the year and where we'll be on our ending fund balance for this year. So state aid is continuing to come in as projected. Our initial allocation, $55 million, roughly $10 million more than our final allocation for 17-18 for the mandated support and certified raises. Our midterm allocation will also be very important to try and project where we will be for the end of this school year. We typically receive those notifications in January, and we will see where we end up. A lot of factors go into that calculation. Obviously, what the state where the state is economically as far as their factors, where us as a district lands for our enrollment and for some of our subpopulation category weights that we get extra dollars for, like special ed and gifted and our English language learners. So all those factors will go into to that allocation figure. Again, building fund, we've collected a little bit more locally than at this point last year. Our One Club donations continue to come in strong, and again, ad valorem is very, very important to building fund, as it's pretty much the single source of revenue we collect in this fund for all of our building maintenance and operations. And child nutrition has caught back up. We were having a little bit of timing collections with some of the claims, but that's caught up to where we need it to be. In general fund, our expenditures for salaries and benefits, for the raises and for the retention stipend. And you can see that carried through building fund. And the anomaly that I wanted to point out in child nutrition, Ms. Goodacre paid for the renovation of her child nutrition facility, and that was, again, directly paid for out of their own funds and fund balance. And we will update the 18 ending fund balance now that the audited financials have been presented to the board and approved. May I answer any questions?
Ms. Ena, the one we received here said 17 million, and this one says 15.
Right, that will be updated. That was,
It'll say it should be 17?
yes, the 15 was the cash balance that was presented in the estimate of needs.
Okay. Discussion or questions? All right, next item, number 63.
My next item is for the presentation and discussion of our popular annual financial report. The board should have received a copy at their desk. I get to be the one up here taking credit for this report, but it's really a collaboration between communications and finance. Ms. Dixon and her team does an amazing job putting this publication together, and I'm very proud of it. This is our second year doing the publication, and if you'll recall, it was started to give our public in a kind of bird's eye view a great representation of our district with a little bit more financial information than in what's in a typical annual report. A lot of people find that CAFR intimidating and don't want to look through a 130-page book, and so this gives a great snapshot of all the great things that are going on in the district, as well as a little bit more financial information. We're very, again, Ms. Dixon and her team knocked it out of the park, did a great job, and we'll be sending this publication off to the same organization that judges and gives us feedback on our CAFR.
Ms. Zenith, I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. It is very helpful to our community. The more that we engage with our community, the more that we provide them resources that enable them to understand and be a voice in our organization, in our community. It is absolutely good for all the students that we're supposed to represent. So I want to thank all those staff members that participated and worked on this. I know that it takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of review from one year to the next to see or seek out those things that we can do to be better. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. This ties directly back to our strategic plan, so we're very happy with the outcome and, again, having this available to the public. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely huge accolades to, I mean, this is an amazing, amazing presentation of this information, and especially for just, I mean, school education for folks that have never been in education, it is a crazy thing to try and understand, and to get something like this, it absolutely helps for lay people to be able to see that, understand, at least grasp something of that, because I mean, even friends of mine or colleagues of mine, you know, it's so different in the business world compared to this, and so I think not only just the education behind this, but also just the entertainment too, of just a great presentation. So this is awesome. This is really cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great job. Any other discussion? Next item, 64.
My last item is to ask the board to approve the transfer of funds to the newly sanctioned basketball organization. If you recall at the last meeting, the board approved the sanctioning of our basketball booster club, and we've gone through the process with our finance staff as well as athletic staff to reconcile those accounts and to in good faith transfer $51,979.06 to the sanctioned organization. And so kind of our process for that was going through, first of all their receipts to make sure that they were in fact student fundraised, going through all of the expenditures to figure out what had been paid, what had not been paid, what still needed to be left encumbered for bills down the future. And so those accounts were reconciled, and this is the amount that we're asking transfer.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, 65, new business. We have none. The next item, item 66, to move to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to move to executive session.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Move that we return to open
Thank you.
session.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to return to open session. Please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Cockrell?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next
Who-
item will be statement by the board clerk.
The Board of Education and Dr. Janet Dunlop and Michelle Birdwell entered into executive session at 6:43 p.m. to discuss the purchase or appraisal of certain real estate property in accordance with Oklahoma statute title 25 OS Section 307B3, and to discuss the evaluation of Dr. Janet Dunlop, superintendent, pursuant to Oklahoma statute 25 Section 307B1 of Oklahoma Open Meeting Act. At 7:20 p.m., Dr. Janet Dunlop and Michelle Birdwell departed executive session. At 7:50 p.m., Dr. Janet Dunlop re-entered executive session. The Board of Education and Dr. Janet Dunlop returned to open session at 8:12 p.m. This constitutes the minutes of the executive session.
Thank you. Next item, number 68.
Move to approve the purchase and/or sale of certain real estate properties and to authorize the Chief Operations Officer to negotiate close on the property and to execute the details and purchase of said property and/or sell land as discussed during executive session.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.